Phillies and gentle colts, it is I, Silent Killer Rex again. And now it's time for... It's pony story time. Sorry. You know, it's still the same. You can never trust any pony, chapter 7. Let's start. Fluttershy flew through the clouds into Applejack's farm. She saw Applejack working in the field on the farm. Oh, hi, Fluttershy. What are you doing here? Oh, no, I just wanted to talk to you about something. Well, what would that be? Fluttershy got closer to Applejack to whisper in her ear. Then she hit Applejack in the head with her hoof extremely hard, knocking her out. Fluttershy teleported her and Applejack back to her house. Dot dot dot, dot dot dot, and another dot dot dot. Applejack opened her eyes. She saw blurred darkness. Her vision was unblurred. Fluttershy came up to her. Hello and welcome to my house. Applejack tried to lift her arms and legs, but found that they were tied down to a table she was on. First, I would like you to meet Rarity. She picked up Rarity's charred bones that had bits of black, burnt flesh on them. I have many more bodies like hers, and you're next. Applejack gasped in fear. Now, let's get this show started. Fluttershy got a knife and held it up to Applejack's head. Now, because I don't like it when people complain, I will do this, and I'll make sure you can't talk. She got the metal thing and forced it into Applejack's mouth to keep it open wide. She put the blade inside Applejack's mouth and slashed her tongue. She kept on cutting, through the tongue while Applejack was screaming in pain. She had cut all the way through, and took the tongue out of Applejack's mouth. Blood flowed from her mouth and trickled down onto her body. She tried to yell at Fluttershy, but ended up sounding like a bunch of nonsense. Fluttershy held up Applejack's bloody tongue in front of her. You know something? This seems a bit tasty. Fluttershy then put the tongue into her mouth and started to chew. She then swallowed it. The blood has a great aftertaste with it, you know. Fluttershy put the knife inside Applejack's mouth and started to cut through her cheeks. Applejack let out screams as the blade slowly cut through her skin, and the blood ran down the side of her face. Fluttershy had cut all the way to the end of the jaw, so she kept cutting through the skin until she had gotten to her ear. Then she started to cut Applejack's ear. She did, and the ear fell off, and blood spurted out. Fluttershy got Applejack's face with one half of a cheek hanging down, and the other down on the side of her face, and the other hanging from the top with a stub, from the top of her jaw with a stub of flesh that used to be her ear. At the end of the cut. Then she started to cut through the other cheek. It felt just like cutting through paper and watching a waterfall of blood rain down into Applejack's body. She then got to the end of the jaw and cut off Applejack's other ear. Fluttershy held up the ear in front of Applejack's bloody face. You want these back, Applejack? Well, you can have them. Fluttershy then got the needle and some string. Applejack looked in horror at the shiny needle and red thread. Then she put the ear into Applejack's cheek and started to sew it in. Each time the needle went in and out with a string of bits of string. Each time the needle went in and out, Strings of bits of blood trickled down. I rephrased that sentence to make it sound right. Then, Fluttershy slowly started to sew on the other ear to Applejack's chest. When she was done, blood ran down her cheek onto the table. I like the new look, Applejack. Then Fluttershy got out a drill with a long screw at the end of it, and put the screw in heat. Now, here comes the fun part, Applejack. Then she got the screw out, which was red hot. She then shoved the drill into Applejack's vagina and started to drill inside of it. The screw burned and cut through the walls in Applejack's vagina, and she screamed in pain as bits of flesh and blood came flying out of her vagina. Sorry. Fluttershy then took the blood-soaked drill out of Applejack's pussy. So, you want some more pleasure? Well, you can have it. Fluttershy then got out a glass with acid and lemon juice and poured it onto Applejack's mutilated vagina. The acid burned through the cut and burnt walls, and the juice caused the pain to get much more intense. Applejack had tears running down her face as she kept on screaming. The acid had burned through the walls and then started to burn through the flesh on top of her legs. Some of the acid went down and trickled down her ear. I didn't mean to say ear. And trickled down onto her anus while burning her skin, and then started to burn the inside of her asshole. Then Fluttershy got out a knife and stabbed Applejack in the chest. The knife had missed her lungs and heart, but had cut through a lot of flesh. Blood spurted out of the stab wound. Then she started to cut through Applejack's cut. She sliced it open and started to cut through the flesh and veins. She had gotten to Applejack's stomach. She slashed it open like a wet paper bag, and stomach acid leaked out everywhere onto the open flesh and veins. Applejack screamed and cried in pain as the acid ate through the flesh, and Fluttershy laughed madly. Time for the fucking drill, you cunt. This will end your poor and worthless life once and for all, you ass-tard. She got the drill and reheated the screw at the end of it. She then turned it on, striking, and it started to spin and spray bits of flesh and blood all over both ponies. She pointed the drill right at Applejack's forehead and started to move it closer. The spinning hot iron got closer and closer. Then Fluttershy stabbed the screw deep into Applejack's skull and into her brain and started to drill madly. Blood spurted out of the hole and trickled down Applejack's lifeless face as Fluttershy drilled through her skull and brain. Then Fluttershy got out the hammer and smashed her skull open from the top, and the brains and blood leaked out. She untied the body and left it on the floor to rot. Now for that fucktard Pinkie Pie. What a story, Mark. That's the end of Chapter 7. Chapter 8 will come soon.